It was a cold, silent night in the small Arizona town of Mesa. The streets were empty, except for the soft hum of crickets and the occasional howl of a distant dog. The clock had just struck midnight when a faint, trembling knock echoed against the old metal door of the Hells Angels garage. Inside, the air smelled of oil, burnt rubber, and whiskey. A group of bikers sat around a table, laughing over cards and country music blaring in the background. Tank, their leader, a large man with a graying beard and arms covered in tattoos, frowned. "You hear that?" he said, raising his head. The laughter stopped. Everyone froze for a second, listening. Another knock. Soft, hesitant, and strange at this hour. "Who the hell would come here this late?" muttered Diesel, one of the younger bikers, reaching for his jacket. Tank motioned for him to stay back and walked toward the door. The metallic creak filled the silence as he slowly pulled it open. What he saw made even the toughest biker's heart twist. Standing there was a little girl, no older than 7, wearing a faded pink nightgown, her hair messy and her face streaked with tears and dirt. Her tiny hands clutched a torn teddy bear, and her bare feet were bleeding from cuts. "Sweetheart, what are you doing out here?" Tank asked, kneeling down. The girl looked up at him, her lip trembling. "Please, help my mommy," she whispered. Her voice cracked, soft as the wind. For a moment, the entire garage fell silent. None of the bikers moved. They had seen fights, fires, and chaos, but never something so fragile, so desperate. Tank gently placed his leather jacket around the girl's shoulders. "Where's your mommy, kiddo?" She pointed shakily toward the dark stretch of road leading out of town. "In the woods, our trailer. She's not waking up. My stepdad, he hurt her." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she tried to catch her breath. Without another word, Tank stood up. "Gear up, boys. We're riding out." The bikers immediately jumped into action. Engines roared to life, headlights slicing through the night. The girl was seated safely in the sidecar of Tank's Harley, wrapped in his jacket for warmth. The thunder of motorcycles filled the air as they rode out of town, following her small, trembling hand pointing toward the forest road. As they rode, the men exchanged uneasy glances. They weren't rescuers or cops, they were bikers with rough pasts. Yet tonight, none of that mattered. Something about that little girl's eyes, full of fear and hope, reminded them of innocence long lost. When they reached the edge of the woods, the road narrowed into a muddy path. Tank stopped and turned to the girl. "Is it this way?" She nodded weakly. The bikers dismounted, flashlights in hand, moving carefully through the trees. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sound being the crunch of leaves beneath their boots. Then, from a distance, one of them shouted, "Over here." The girl gasped and ran forward. What they found waiting in that dark trailer would change their lives forever. The bikers froze at the doorway of the old, rusted trailer. The smell of blood and dampness hit them first. Inside, a faint light from a broken lamp flickered, revealing chaos, broken furniture, shattered glass, and a woman lying motionless on the floor. The little girl screamed, "Mommy," and tried to rush forward, but Tank caught her in time. "Easy, sweetheart," he said softly. "Let me check first." He knelt beside the woman, feeling for a pulse. "She's alive," he breathed, though her face was bruised and her breath shallow. "She needs a hospital, now." He looked up at Diesel. "Call 911. Diesel pulled out his phone with trembling hands, speaking quickly to the dispatcher. Meanwhile, another biker, Rooster, searched the room. "Whoever did this, he left in a hurry," he muttered, pointing to a smashed beer bottle and a blood-stained footprint near the door. The little girl clung to Tank's arm, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He got mad. Mommy said we should hide, but he found us. He hit her. Then he left." Her small voice cracked, breaking everyone's hearts. Tank took a deep breath, fighting the anger boiling inside him. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked gently. "Lily," she whispered. "Well, Lily, we're gonna make sure your mommy's okay. You did the right thing coming to us," he said, giving her a reassuring smile. Within minutes, the sound of sirens echoed through the night. The bikers stepped outside, forming a protective circle around Lily as the paramedics rushed in. The sheriff's deputies arrived soon after, guns half drawn, their faces wary at the sight of the notorious Hells Angels. Tank raised his hands calmly. "We're not the bad guys tonight, Sheriff," he said firmly. "We found the girl, and her mom's inside. She needs help fast. The sheriff blinked in surprise, then nodded. All right, we'll take it from here. The paramedics carried the woman out on a stretcher, oxygen mask over her face. Lily ran beside her mother, holding her hand. She's gonna be okay, right? She asked the medic. She's tough, honey, the medic replied with a smile. Just like you. Tank and his men stood silently as the ambulance drove away. For a long moment, none of them spoke. The only sound was the hum of their bikes and the chirping of crickets returning to the quiet night. The next morning, the news spread across town. Local biker gang saves 7-year-old and her mother from domestic assault. Reporters gathered outside the hospital, trying to interview the unlikely heroes. When Tank finally spoke, his words were simple. We're not angels, but sometimes life gives you a chance to do the right thing. We just took it. Days later, Lily's mother recovered. She and Lily visited the garage to thank them. Lily handed Tank her repaired teddy bear, whispering, "He protects me, but now you protect people too." Tank smiled, his tough eyes softening. That night, as engines roared again, the bikers rode not as outlaws, but as guardians of their town, forever changed by a little girl's midnight knock.